When evaluating quarterbacks coming out of the draft, many teams often make the same mistake. They're looking for arm strength, size, game-changing athleticism, but those are not what make most quarterbacks successful. CJ Stroud has burst onto the scene as a legitimate franchise quarterback because he has the trait that does. It's all over his film, it's his anticipation. While rookie quarterbacks look at the defense, he sees it, which is why he started his career with a record 186 pass attempts without an interception. That's right, 7 touchdowns, 0 picks. He's 3rd in passing yards, 4th in yards per attempt. His passer rating is higher than Patrick Mahomes. He uses advanced mental processing to anticipate complex defensive coverages, and he's done it right from the jump. The Texans are leveraging his advanced anticipation skills by having him target the intermediate area of the field, 10 to 19 yards, the second most in the league. He's already excellent at throwing to receivers a step or two before they turn their heads, just as they're about to break into open space. If we dive a little further, he's especially good at reading second-level defenders, linebackers, box safeties, and can anticipate their movement in literal milliseconds. Take this 3-play example from the Falcons game where the Texans are running what NFL teams call domino or bounce. It's designed to isolate and high-low a hook defender, where a high-low concept presents him with a high element and a low one. If Nate Landman sits back for Dalton Schultz, Stroud will hit Xavier Hutchinson, and if he jumps Hutchinson's route, Stroud zips it behind him to Schultz. As I've mentioned before on here, it's the same concept the Rams beat the Bengals with in the Super Bowl. A ton of teams run it, but to be good at it, you need a quarterback with great anticipation since the windows can get tight. Take note of this 3-man bunch formation, it will pop up again, and check where Schultz is when Stroud is triggering the throw. His head is not turned, he's not out of his break. You don't see this anticipation from rookie quarterbacks. Hell, you don't see it from a lot of veterans. Typically, you don't want to throw bounce against one high safety coverages because there's going to be a middle safety waiting to crunch this quick dig route. Not only does Stroud throw this way early, but look how he anticipates a safety smashing Schultz, so he protects him with good accuracy, throwing back shoulder, doesn't lead him into the hit. A little later, they run bounce again, and while this falls incomplete, it's still a good throw and sets up our next play. Once again, we're in our tight bunch formation with the same exact receivers, and this time the Falcons have 2 deep safeties, although they're playing very condensed to the middle since they're expecting the Texans are running the same concept out of this same look. When Stroud sees Landman match Hutchinson's route again, the anticipation is incredible, and the accuracy is once again good, saving Schultz from another big hit, even though he drops it. Now when the Falcons see the same look again, they're ready for it. But here is the chess match that unfolds throughout an NFL football game that is made much easier when you have a capable quarterback. Out of the same tight bunch, now the Texans are running Schultz on the dig and up double move. Jesse Bates is ready to jump the dig. You can also see Landman fake like he's going to guard the under low route again, but then zones back off. If Bates stayed high, this would have been perfect, but Schultz runs a nice route and Stroud hits him for the touchdown. If he wasn't anticipating as well on the first 2 plays, Bates wouldn't have been threatened as much, so he wouldn't have needed to jump the 3rd play. That is what Stroud's quick processing does to defenses, and it leads to a touchdown late in the game. He is just so good at reading the leverage, the tendencies, the in-game adjustments of these intermediate defenders, which is why he's so good at attacking that area of the field. If he sees them move a little too far to one side, he can read their eyes, the shift in their weight, their footwork. That is what is setting him apart in his rookie season. In cover 2 zone, which has 2 deep safeties, there is a giant void in the middle of the defense. Teams play Tampa 2 zone to help fill that void. They'll often have that Tampa linebacker turns towards the strength of the formation, which is the side with the more eligible receivers. So the very moment Stroud sees Landman do that, he knows Nico Collins is coming open to his backside, so with great anticipation, he hits another big play completion. He is excellent at reading these second-level defenders, but he can do even more. His anticipation of third-level defenders is also really advanced. We'll dive into that on his tape. But real quick, before we do, I want to give a shout out to this season sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports site where you can play a player every day. They have any sport you can think of. You can predict a million different stats. If you want to make sports even more fun and win money doing it, PrizePicks has got you covered. You can play in any of the states you see on the screen, and here's how to play. Choose 2 to 6 players and select whether they go more or less than their projection. This week I'll take Kenneth Walker's over. The Bengals are allowing the second most rushing yards in the league, and I'll take Mahomes to get in them Broncos cheeks. PrizePicks has the fastest withdrawals of any daily fantasy app I've ever used. You load up the app, you're done in like 2 seconds, it's so quick. They're also doing a deal where if you use my promo code Rollins, they will match your first deposit up to $100. Put in 100, boom, you got 2. Because Stroud is so good at also reading and anticipating third-level defenders, it helps him anticipate what's gonna happen to the second-level ones too. In spread formations against cover 2 zone, when teams aren't playing Tampa 2 zone, that same linebacker still has to carry the slot option of the field, and Stroud knows it. Schultz against a Landon Roberts is a good matchup to target, and when he sees those safeties rotate away from the middle of the snap, he knows he has his guy against a linebacker with a ton of room to attack. Safeties rotating to different areas of the snap can tell you a lot about where there's going to be a void in the defense, which helps him anticipate where to attack in the intermediate. He's great at reading those second-level defenders, but also reading the third level to find where there will be space in the second. Again, the Colts roll into a 2-deep shell, which opens up space underneath for a Nico Collins slant. When Stroud takes the snap and feels his safeties roll deep and the second level's cleared out, he quickly throws a slant. And because of the timing and pacing of the throw, Collins can break a tackle and pick up a ton of yak. However, the play was called back, but now when Stroud sees one safety roll down to take away the slant, he knows that means now one high safety isn't covering a deep half, just the middle, so he can just read how your safeties rotate and throw away from that rotation. This is some rare bull junk for a rookie. He flashes some exceptional ability to process exotic safety rotations and attacks them in rhythm like they're nothing. I figured he had already seen Rayshon Jenkins start at the line and sprint all the way back like this. It was probably all over Jacksonville's film and he was ready for it. But as I was charting every Jaguars defensive snap from this game, and then charting all 127 snaps from their first 2 games, there was not a single time they started Jenkins at the line and did this. There were a couple of times in the Chiefs game where they started him or a safety in the middle and then rotated them deep into cover 2 zone, but that was it. NFL defenses don't do this regularly at all, but Stroud was just ready. Pre-snap, they're kind of showing that the post will be open because they have these 2 outside defenders showing cover 2 zone daring him to throw it, but they're trying to trap him into making a bad decision with Jenkins rotating back to defend that post. However, he knows Jenkins doesn't have a lot of depth since he's starting so far underneath, and he's not really booking it deep, not sprinting back. He's kind of trying to read if Tank Dell is cutting under him on a dig or a curl or something. He's not expecting the post to be thrown, but look when Stroud lets this thing ride. The anticipation is crazy, and so is the accuracy. These are big boy throws that rookie quarterbacks do not make, and his poise in his first 5 games is unbelievable. The poise is another one of my favorite things about him. He combines that with his anticipation to stay calm and then makes quick throws under duress. This is an example of their offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick copying Mike McDaniel's favorite RPO, but there's a slight design flaw that Stroud is still able to overcome. Here is McDaniel's version, which we touched on a few weeks ago, where they have a quick seam, which is the first read, and a quick motion outside, which is usually this rail route as the number 2. However, if there's a blitz, there needs to be a hot option, like we talked about last week with Purdy, where a hot route is a built-in quick route the QB can throw if he gets a sudden free runner when the offensive line doesn't have enough guys to protect. The Dolphins have the tight end run a slider route as the hot, so when Derwin James blitzes, they can force defenses to stop doing that because they can gash him with a hot. Maybe Bobby Slowick just didn't design this properly, because there is no hot. With the free runner coming, tight end Brevin Jordan is trying to block him instead of running a route, so Stroud only has the seam and rail route to throw to. But instead of panicking with an unblocked NFL pass rusher screaming right at him, he calmly just reads the leverage of the seam defender and drops in a nice throw. With Levi Wallace playing inside leverage on the seam, it makes it even more difficult to complete. But with Stroud's anticipation, he makes it look routine. He has had a great debut through his first 5 games, and is already doing things that NFL veteran quarterbacks do too, and even some things that they don't. He has shown impressive poise to remain calm under duress, and his anticipation is his defining trait that will separate him at the position for years into the future. His arm strength is good, not insane. He's a better athlete than we thought coming out of Ohio State, but he's not Lamar Jackson. CJ Stroud is winning at the highest level with a real, actual quarterback trait, anticipation, which shows that there is so much more to the position than just physical tools. The Houston Texans are finally legit. They have their guy. They are set for the future, and now they are building towards something real.